Shalom Aleichem Rabotai, Rabbi Kovacs. We are continuing in Demai in the last chapter, the 7th parak with Mishnah base. Yesterday when we started parak Zayin, we talked about being invited to the home of an Amma Aretz and a stipulation that could be made prior to Shabbat. He's going, for Shabbat, and there is a stipulation to be made that what he's going to leave aside on his plate could be separated for the maaser, and then the trumat maaser, and then the maaser sheni could be redeemed, and he'd be able to eat and leave over a little bit. And now in Mishnah Beit, we're talking about mazgu lo etakos, when he poured the wine. So now it's during Shabbat, it's at the meal himself, the chaver is by the Amma Aretz, and he's giving a stipulation about the tithes in the cup of wine. A cup of wine works a little differently because you can't just leave over a little food on the plate because the wine is all mixed together, being a liquid. The Omer, and he says, the Mfarshim say he should whisper, he shouldn't say this out loud as an announcement, and perhaps it's a words of wisdom to us if we go somewhere and we're not going to eat a certain item, some sort of chumrah we have or some sort of issue with the host, wherever we are. You're not going to announce that in front of everybody that, I don't know how well this guy checks his vegetables. I'm not going to eat the vegetable. Person would not say that. So the Mfarshim say he's whispering. The chaver is whispering to himself this formulation, which is quite similar to yesterday's Mishnah, but applied to wine. He says, "Mashani ati l'shayir b'shulei kos." He says, the tiny amount I'm going to leave in the very bottom of the cup, harehu maaser. That's the start of the maaser. Ushar maaser samachlo. The rest of the maaser is right next to it at the bottom. Zeh she'asiti maaser. This first little bit that I made maaser, it's going to be 1% of the cup. Asui trumat maaser alav. That's going to be the truma on the rest of the maaser. Remember, by Demai, we're worried about the trumat maaser. We know the Amaret separate truma, it's the trumat maaser, and the other maaserot we're worried about. But the maaser rishon he could drink, and the maaser sheni we're going to see he could be redeemed. As the Mishnah continues, maaser sheni befiv. He says the maaser sheni is in the mouth of the cup. He's going to be able to drink it, and he redeems that maaser sheni onto some money that he has back at home. Now, he's not actually touching the money, it's Shabbos, but some fraction of a silver coin he has back at home can soak up the kedusha of the maaser sheni, which normally would be taken to Yerushalayim. So then eventually this chaver is going to take that silver coin he has back in the house to Yerushalayim, when it's not Shabbos, of course, and buy food and eat it with the kedusha of maaser sheni. So this whispered magic formula here allows him to separate out the trumas maaser and leave it in the bottom of the cup, so he's not over the isser of drinking trumas maaser. He uses this combined with yesterday's Mishnah, where he stipulates before Shabbos that when he gets to the Amma Aretz on Shabbos, because remember, we can't separate the tithes on Shabbat itself, but he's giving this advanced stipulation, which was allowed to fix up Demai, which was a Derabanan obligation. It was a takana, so they allowed him to make this stipulation before Shabbat that he's just going to leave over a corner. He's going to leave over the little bit of wine in the dregs of the Trumas Maaser to allow him to not consume Trumas Maaser when he's by the Amaretz. Good. Mishnah Gimel, shifting tack again. Poel she'eino ma'amin l'bolabait, a worker who's working for an Amma Aretz. He's not sure the Amma Aretz has separated tithes. Notzo grogeret achat, and he takes one dried figs. Now what's going on here is these dried figs, they've already been harvested. They've already been, their malacha is done. There's gemar malacha. So they're chayev in truma and maaser. We know the Amma Aretz did take truma. So now he's pressing these figs, or he's doing something with these figs that are a finished product. So they're chayev and maaser. So he picks, the worker wants to fix up these figs so he can eat them. So why is he eating them? Well, because it's a pasuk in Devarim, Perek 25, pasuk 4. Lo tachsom shor bedisho. Do not muzzle the ox during the threshing. And we learn out from here in Bav Metzia, we talk about this. There's a whole Perek HaSocher Sapolim about when you hire workers, you have to feed them. This is a Torah obligation if people are working with food. If you hire somebody to work with food, depending, it's Gedule Karka, we talk about this in the Gemara, you have to feed them. You can't have them working with food and they're not allowed to eat any of it, so you give them their lunch. If they can't eat what's being offered, then the balabayas who's hired them has to provide them with lunch. So you can't muzzle your ox during the threshing. So this man's allowed to eat from some of these growth, from some of these dried figs. So to tithe them, he picks up 1 fig. Ve'omer zo v'teisha about achrecha. This 1 fig and the 9 next figs, asuyot maaser al tishim sheniachol. These are the maaser on the 90 more figs that I'm going to eat today while I'm working. Zo, and this first fig, asuyot trumas maaser lehim. This 1 fig is the trumas maaser on the next 9 figs, which are the maaser rishon, and that's going to be the maaser, those 10 figs together, the maaser for the rest. Maaser sheni bechrona. The maaser sheni is the last 10 figs he's going to eat. Mechulal amaus, and he has a silver coin at home to be machalo the kedusha, soak up the kedusha of the maaser sheni. Then he'll bring the coin to Yerushalayim. V'chaysech grogeris echad, and he leaves over 1 fig, so he eats 99 figs and leaves over that one trumas maaser fig that he designated first. So that comes out the trumas maaser, and then he's going to go give that to a Kohen to fulfill the obligation of giving the trumas maaser. Rabban Shimon Gamliel Omer, lo yachsach mipnei shehu memayit melachto shel bal habayis. This is an amazing concept, Rabbi. He says he shouldn't leave over a fig; rather, he should buy 1 extra fig from his employer. He'd go to the company canteen, the company lunchroom, and buy an extra fig. And that extra fig he's going to give to a Kohen as a trumas maaser, but he should eat all 100 figs. Why? The Bartner explains, he's not going to be as strong and have as much energy if he doesn't eat the proper amount of his lunch. The 90 figs is lamashal. He eats what he needs to do the work. This is his energy supply during the day. So if he doesn't eat what he needs to perform the work, he's not performing enough work that he's been hired to do. And this is a klal gadol in employment law. Employment halacha today is you can't take extra breaks at the expense of the employer. You can't be, distracted by other things on the phone, etc., while you're being paid by the hour. Now, there are certain customary tolerances for being off task. That's the official jargon. There's, the minhag is people aren't fully engaged all the time. But to go to take extra, it's stealing from the bal habayis who's paying you by the hour if you're going above and beyond the normal breaks and the normal lunch break and the normal expectations of productivity. So that's part of this, is eating enough to actually do the manual labor that was required of him. Rabbi Yossi Omer lo yachshak. He doesn't have to go get an extra fig. Rather, there's 100 figs in total, and he's taking 1 home to give to a Kohen, because it's a condition stipulated by the court. The same Bezdin that's enacting Demai says, listen, when there's a Demai issue by an employer, the worker is allowed to take that 1 home, and that's that 1 fig comes off the ledger of the employer. And this is where they get the famous expression, he doesn't even give a fig. So apparently he had to give the fig. It was a T'nai Bezdin. Shkoyach Rabosai. To be continued tomorrow.